It's just going to be one of those videos, folks. I've already recorded numbers 1 through 8 on this, and then I made a mistake on number 9. We had technical difficulty, and so basically, rather than trying to go through and edit out all of that, it looks like I can just take us through 1 through 8 again, and so hopefully I don't make a mistake this time, because I don't want to leave something incorrect for you to look at. So if something looks funny on this video and I don't catch it, hey, just raise your hand, message me something, so that way I can figure out if I made the mistake or if you're misunderstanding something. So here we go. Translations, reflections, rotations. You did IC74 last night. Let's see how you did. On number 1, translation, if it tells you with word notation, it literally tells you what to do 3 units down. So take a look at H. You need to move it down 3 points here. So take a look at this. 1, 2, 3. This point right here is where you would put H prime. Then we go to G. We move that down 3 spots, and this would become G prime. And then F moves down 3 spots, and that becomes G prime. Take a look to see how the sides are connected. You can see that G to H, so you would do that with your points. G to F, do that with yours, and H to F, and we're done with number 1. Number 2, translation of 4 units left and 1 unit down. So this W is going to go 4 to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 down. So here's where we're going to put the new point of W prime. The same thing's happening with V. 4 to the left, 1 down. This becomes your V prime, and U happens also. And then take a look at this. W goes to V, V goes to U, and W goes to U. Here's number 3. This notation right here, this means that we would go to the right once. And this right here, well, let me erase that. With that Y right there, that means that basically we're not going to do anything. It's not going to go up or down. So now we just have to move everything once to the right. J goes once to the right, so right here becomes J prime. Right over here moves once to the right, and it goes to I prime. K goes to K prime, and I think you guys can see how to connect the dots there. In this case, this X, since it's not being plus or minus, remember, we don't look right here. This is going to happen every time on this. It's called arrow notation. This says, hey, you take your original point, and what do you do to the original point? Well, you do nothing to your X value, which means we're not going to go left. We're not going to go right. But what it does mean is that for every single point, we're going to add 2 to the Y value. So that means if you're adding 2 to the Y value, you'd be going up twice. Okay? So this V right here, as a result, it's going to go up 2. This will become V prime. U goes up twice. That's U prime. And T goes up twice, and that is T prime. Connect the dots accordingly. Number 5, we need to reflect across the x-axis, so always pay attention to what it's asking you to reflect across. In this case, it's going to be this x-axis right here. J, as you can see, is 2 units above, so you can count from the axis up to that point. 1, 2. And to reflect it, we go in the opposite direction from the x-axis. So as we were counting up 2, we would now count down 2. 1, 2. And this is where we would find J prime. K, you just count your way up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'd go 5 below, and K prime is right here. So again, the counting action is always from the axis to the point, and then from your axis to the new point on the opposite side of it. So up by 2, and then start from x-axis and go down by 2, and this would become L prime. Number 6, exact same thing. It is the x-axis again. T is 1 above it, so we need to go 1 below, and this becomes T prime. The U, you can see we're going up by 3, so now we need to start from the x-axis and go down by 3 in the opposite direction. And we would find u prime right here. Now this v right here, it's actually on the axis, and so hey, if it's on the axis, just put another point right on there and just kind of tag it with a v prime right beside it. So anytime that a point's on that line of reflection, just put it right on it. And now just go and connect. Now you see t connects to u, so that gives us t to u right here, u to v, that connects u prime to v prime right here, and then that t to v is the third side that we need to get right there. Number 7, we've got the x-axis again. So let's take a look at it. It looks like we're up by 5 above, so we need to go 5 below, and we would get I prime right here. H is on it, so hey, no shocker, we're just going to put a dot right there on it and call that H prime. And J is 2 above, so we need to go 2 below, and there's J prime. Here's number 8, it's the x-axis again. Now this one, I'm kicking myself that I didn't give you a single y-axis one. You know, the y-axis is where we would highlight this and we'd be trying to go equal distance from the left and then to the right. But I was more concerned about making sure they got at least one of these shapes where the line of reflection is cutting through the object. Now, as soon as you see it cutting through the object that you need to reflect, you should understand that it's going to get a little messy on your paper, and you can't panic. You have to stay very neat and do it in a very orderly fashion. We have 3 points that we need to reflect, and then we'll have to connect them. So just take it one at a time. You can see that above the x-axis here, we have the R, that's one above, so I need you to go one below, and even though it's on this black line that's on this triangle, I need you to put a dot right here to reflect this R point properly underneath it, and we'll call it R prime. Go ahead and label it. That's very important for what's about to happen. Now, I also know that this Q right here is 2 below the x-axis. Don't just totally ignore that R prime is sitting there. It's 2 below. Q is 2 below. So now we're going to go 2 above, and I'm going to put a dot right here for Q prime, and I'm going to make sure I put Q prime. And then this is really easy to find over here. We'll see that this is 3 below. So we're going to go 3 above, and I'll put this as S prime. And if you can connect the dots properly, you'll be fine. Take a look at your original shape right here. You can see that this R is connected to the S, so that's what I've got highlighted in green there. And so since it's R to S, I'm going to take my R prime and connect it to my S prime. Then I'm just going to look at these other two sides. I believe it's R to Q right here. So I'm going to highlight R to Q right there so you can see it. So now I need to find my prime R and my Q prime. So here we go. Q prime to R prime. And then the last thing would be Q to S, so Q prime to S prime. And you can see that the two shapes are overlapped on that. But I warned you it was going to happen because we see the line of reflection cutting through that. Now we're ready to go on to the rotations, and if you give me a second, I have to resize my screen so that way my smart pad will work correctly. Okay, so we need to rotate it 90 degrees. That would be a quarter of a turn, and it's counterclockwise. So since a clock spins around like this, we need to go backwards. And that would mean we spin it to the left. So let's spin this 1/4 of a turn to the left. Now, I'm going to use just number 9 to show this. We still think of this as 0 for the y-axis. This is still your y-axis. And the axis running left and right, we still think of it as x-axis. So really, we're just imagining that the only thing that has rotated around this point of origin is this triangle. And if this is at 0 right here, then this is 1, and this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. And this over here would be positives. Right here would be 1, this would be 2, 3, and this is 4. Now, right here, this is -1, this is -2, -3, and this would be -4. So down below 0 on the y-axis again is -1, -2, -3, and -4. Why am I going over this? I would say probably about 20% of my class right now is having issues with looking at this without it being numbered. And that's not good. We need you to be able to do this in your sleep and be able to look at this without having to write up all these numbers, because look how messy this made this. And you don't have the luxury of writing all over this thing. So, but what we need to do though is just keep in mind this is 0 and R is at -1 on the x-axis, and it's right there at 0 on the y-axis. So there we go. We've got our coordinates for the new R prime. Let's take a look at S prime. So it's going to be at 1, 2, 3, 4 and the negatives. So -4. And then we've got to see how far down below. We have to go 1, 2, 3 below. So that'd be a -3 right there. And let's do the last one right here at T prime. It looks like I'm at +1 on the x-axis. But I'm at, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 below 0, so that put me at -4. Okay. So now we can actually rotate our worksheet back around. And those points aren't going to help us like that because I'm rotating more than just the coordinate plane there. So let's kind of clear that out. And now let's get my green pencil back up here. Here we go. Let's go ahead and graph it. -1, 0. Right here is R prime. I'll put a big R prime right there. S prime is at -4, -3. And T prime is at 1, -4. So now we just have to go and connect it. It's a triangle, so it's not that hard to figure out. And I don't know why I wrote -4 right there. This should be T prime right here. And now here's a cleaned up shot of the rotated triangle. Let's go to number 10. This one, it's clockwise, and a clock goes, around to the right. So we need to rotate this 1/4 of a turn clockwise because it's 90 degrees clockwise. So let's make this just a little bit bigger so we can see that there. It looks like S, again, this is at 0, so -1, -2, -3, 0 would be S prime. The T down here would be at -1, -5. And R prime is all the way at, well, actually I take that back. Give me just a second here. This is T, that's S. This would be U prime. Sorry, I was trying to set this all up in a rush there. So that's U prime, and that would be at -5, -2. Now we can rotate this back around and see how we can graph these. So S prime's at -3, 0. U prime's -5, -2. And T prime is at -1, -5. And I'm hearing all sorts of weird noises by my daughter and my wife in the TV room as I sit in the living room. So if I say something odd, it's probably because I'm hearing something in the background. I think it's my daughter shouting ready to rumble. And I just hope nothing gets broken in the next minute or two. So let's see if we can finish this up here. Here's the cleaned up version of that. S prime, U prime, T prime right there. Okay. So this is a rotation of 180 degrees. So if you twist it to the right or to the left, after you do 180 degrees, you'll wind up at the same spot regardless. Just once you pick a direction, keep going. So if I turn it 1/4 of a turn, that's 90. go another 1/4 of a turn, it flips it upside down, and that is 180 degrees. Okay, let me make this just a little bit bigger. And all that you're going to see me do is pop up the coordinates right here for U, V, and W. But because it's running long, I'm going to pause it, and I'm just going to have the coordinates pop up here. So you can pause it and then double check to see that I'm correct and that you understand where it's coming from. So again, if you need to pause the video, just double check that you understand where the U prime coordinates are coming from, the V prime and the W prime. And now we can go back in live time, and let's just rotate this back around. And you take a look at your paper there that you've got these coordinates written down on, and we just go and plot them. And then you just have to connect. And here's a cleaned up shot of the rotated triangle. Okay, last one. Rotate this 90 degrees clockwise. So clockwise will go to the right. A quarter of a turn to make it 90 degrees. We'll make this just a little bit bigger. Again, I'm going to pause it. I'm going to take the coordinates from F, D, and E, and you'll see F, D, and E right here just populate. Make sure that you agree with what's going on there. And again, once you get those coordinates, you can put your paper back the normal way. And what you're going to see is that literally, once I put my paper back, your triangle is going to be right over here in this third quadrant right here, because that's where this triangle is. And so you know that this is where you're going to be drawing it. It's in the third quadrant. So I'm going to pause it and graph those points. And then we just have to, connect. And I'll get you a cleaned up shot of what it should look like. This is going to look kind of messy on your paper, but look for these points. Make sure that your triangle is pointing upward. And as you can see, that's what the nice glorified answer key makes it look like. Hopefully you're ready for the quiz. We've got one more worksheet that we need to work on, and that's your final tune-up for the quiz. Then it's on to dilations to finish up the chapter.